Hi everybody, Scott Bintz here. Wanted to do a quick video about kind of sponsorship 101. A friend of mine asked me to do this, so I thought, why not? This is just my thoughts and experience on sponsorship. First of all, let's talk about sponsorship, which is really exchanging money for you marketing someone's brand or products versus a donation, which is you ultimately just someone gives you money for charity purposes and you don't have to do anything. Sponsorship, on the other hand, is helping the business promote their brand or their service or their company. So a couple of things, being a business person who's had multiple businesses over the years, there's a couple of things to just shed some awareness. The first is which a logo on a car in and of itself doesn't really bring in a lot of business. It looks nice, it's cool, but the reality of business is the more you do to promote a sponsor, their brand, and bring in business to them, the more valuable you are as someone they sponsor. Or quote, I refer, rather than sponsorship, I refer to it as being a marketing partner or marketing partners. And again, ultimately, the more business you help bring in with the company sponsoring you or that you're a marketing partner with, the more value you have to that business. And when you're seeking a business to sponsor you, a couple of tips is one, you want to be concise. They're busy people, and you want to share with them what you can do to help promote their brand. You don't want to tell them what you need, meaning I need new tires, I need this, or I need that, unless they ask what you need, and then of course you would want to share that. And again, a lot of these things are just general ideas. There's no black or white absolutes in this, but essentially be concise and let them know. You can certainly be brief on your past racing history, but as a business, I'm more concerned with the events you're going to and the parades and the things that's going to get my brand name out there. Obviously, if you get in the winner's circle a lot, that's good because you have an opportunity to juice my brand. However, just having my logo on your car doesn't necessarily equate to bringing business into one of the businesses I have. So anyway, when you're doing a proposal, be brief. 8-page proposals, business people don't have time to read them. So you want to be concise. And you want to share what you can do to help market their brand, the events you're going to, what you're going to do, put them on the car, put them on your gear, juice them, mention them in interviews, etc., include them in videos, whatever. Make sure you attach a value to what you're asking for. If you just say, hey, will you sponsor me? And they say, well, how much? And you don't have an answer, or if you leave it up to them, they don't know if it's appropriate to sponsor you for $100 or 10 grand. And so you should have a value. I usually have, a driver endorsement, associate sponsor, and primary sponsorship programs. And they each have different values and different things that I will do, whether it's a driver endorsement, an associate sponsor, or a primary sponsor. Obviously, I'm doing more for the primary sponsorship. Another thing is, just like all businesses, if you're in business, it's easier and more effective to grow your business to keep bringing your existing business back than it is to get new customers. Of course, everybody always wants new customers. The same thing applies for sponsorship. If you do have a sponsor, you want to keep them. You want to keep them happy. So a couple of things, some do's and don'ts, but when you put their logo on the car, make sure it's in their branding color. If you get hooked up with McDonald's and your car is green and you think it'd be cool to have green arches instead of golden arches, you're probably not going to keep that sponsor. As a matter of fact, you may even be asked to remove it. So be respectful of their colors. Now, obviously, if it's a mom and pop shop and you're designing the logo and they're cool with it being green or another color that more blends in with your car, wonderful. But if it's an established brand with an established logo, you best keep their colors. Periodically check in with them. Let them know, hey, here's the events I went to, and here's some of the things that are going on. And I went to this parade, and we did this video, and tagged you a few times in social media. When you're with the brand, you can juice them on social media, whether it's informing people about their product or their brand or location or what they do. But, you know, when you post up racing pictures or this or that, don't be scared to tag the brand and mention them. Obviously, you may do this more often for your primary sponsor than you would your driver endorsement kind of sponsor. Same thing with video. You know, again, if you're doing in-car video or that kind of thing, it takes a few seconds to put a small video or small logos of your sponsors. So the video of your in-car is also listing your sponsors up, just like you would see in NASCAR or any of those kind of things. And if you do have the opportunity to be interviewed at a race, or you go to a race that's being televised, if you get in the winner's circle or they're just doing a driver interview, try to do it by your car and talk about your partners. Be aware of where you're at. I remember one time that really impressed me, Brian Strand, this is when I first got into racing, he won the race. And then he whipped in, and he must have forgot what side realtruck.com logo was on his car. And so he'd asked the guy when he was in victory lane, and when he realized it wasn't facing the crowd side, since he was in my hometown, he spun his car around so you could see the Real Truck logo. So anyway, he was kind of aware of where he was racing at, and since he had a local sponsor there, and I thought that was kind of cool. So just obviously be aware when you're racing locally to juice those sponsors that you have locally as well. And the other thing that in all the years I've sponsored people, what I do in business with my partners is oftentimes I'll check in with them and ask them what I can do to be a better partner. And with your sponsors, you can check in with them and say, hey, what can I do to be a better marketing partner for you? What can I do to help you bring in business? And they might have some things they'll rattle off for you that you can do for them that will ensure you have a sponsor relationship with them for years to come. And oftentimes when you, again, when they say, when you're talking to someone about sponsoring you, make sure you're clear about what you'll do for them and what that cost is. If you have some options like the driver endorsement or that kind of thing, but you can also give them payment options. So if it's a associate sponsor and you're asking for $1,000, you can say $1,000 and and you can do that in 4 $250 payments starting in May or whatever. So it's okay to give payment options. Think in terms of buying a house. You know, you might buy a $100,000 house, but you're doing it at $500 at a time. So sometimes offering payment options is a way to be more attractive to your sponsor, particularly if it's a restaurant or that kind of thing. They may not have that kind of cash flow to sponsor or to pay for the whole season in one shot. And there's many other things you can do to get sponsors. A couple of don'ts and do's and don'ts. Don't friend someone that you know that has a business on Facebook and the next day message them asking what you can do to get their logo on the car. Because obviously what you can do to get your logo on the car is just put it on there. But if you want to have a sponsor relationship and you want to do marketing to help that business's business, you may want to have more of a working relationship with them than just randomly pinging them on Facebook. But anyway, you can't do that. But also, like all things when getting sponsors, be persistent. Sometimes sending an email outlining your program, picking up the phone to follow up. Oftentimes, if you're in sales, you don't close the sales call on the first pitch. And also remember, when you're dealing with business people, some are busy, so they may not be able to call you back immediately, so don't be offended. Sometimes you got to keep at it, just like in racing, you got to be persistent. And at the same token, sometimes, like in sales, you might call on an account and they're not ready this year, but don't be scared to call on them next year because they may be in a different position. And ultimately, remember that when it comes to sponsorship, in my experience and opinion, is that it's a marketing partnership relationship. So they need your help. If they're paying you, it's kind of like an advertisement. But also with advertisement goes, if there's anything you can do beyond that with your total package to help bring in more business to them, again, you have more value to them. If you don't have much value, you're probably not going to get much sponsorship dollars. Unless, of course, going back to the beginning, you're looking for a donation, which is a donation is something you get and you don't have to do anything for it, and which is really ultimately charity. But if you want sponsorship, aka marketing partner, then have some things that you can do to help that brand or that business get more business. And if you're listening to this and you have other ideas that you want to share, comment. If you don't agree with something, that's okay too. And remember, until next time, smile.